All right, we should be live. Welcome back to another Flowless podcast episode where we'll be predicting the Premier League Game Week 6 predictions and fantasy football tips. Let me see if we're live. Yes, we are live now. Awesome, cool. If you're in the chat, please say hello. Let me know you're here tuning in. As usual, this stream is the best. If you talk, let me know your burning questions regarding fantasy, your predictions, and so on and so forth. An exciting weekend ahead. We already had the midweek fixtures. We'll start with the roundup, go through this week's events, all the matches that are happening this weekend. Stick around to see what we think will be the winners of the Arsenal versus Man U, which is probably the biggest league match this weekend. And finally, we'll go through my fantasy, see if you guys have any advice for my team this week, as I am struggling to make a decision. But that being said, I'm here to give you tips, which is the irony of it, but we'll start. And I actually have in the background with me today, all the way from Vancouver, Mr. Unmesh. So I'll let him make a quick appearance to say hello. My supervisor.
Hello, what's up? I'm here with Flawless again, and I hope to win this week.
Yeah, so with all your money that you guys bring in, we've flown him in, my supervisor, to watch me do my stream. I'm not nervous at all. Let's start with the roundup of last week's, which was the midweek, which happened 2-3 days ago. This week's matches. So, poor predictions, I would say, all around from all of us. I think Priyam had the best week where he predicted 7 correct outcomes. Pretty decent, Priyam, well done. 2 correct scores predicted by him. Apart from that, pretty shambles all around. That being said, though, it was a tricky week. It was actually the lowest scoring round of games this season so far. And, it's no surprise, it's midweek. Except Haaland, really no one likes scoring those many goals midweek. So it was the lowest scoring goals, consistently lower. Weekdays are consistently lower than always on your weekend games. We had Crystal Palace versus Brentford finishing 1-1. Brighton winning 2-1, which is very surprising. Brighton's in form, but a red-hot Alexander Mitrovic is in town, and he's doing super well. Southampton versus Chelsea, shock result. Mr. Lavia with a crazy goal. No one saw that coming, all 4 of us getting that one wrong. Leeds versus Everton, 1-1 draw. Rodrigo injured. That was pretty sad for all. I think 1.6 million people bought him in, which is pretty sad to see. But I was the only one who got that outcome correct. Everton scoring 2 goals, surprisingly. And then Arsenal versus Villa. Arsenal nicking the league with a Martinelli goal very late. And we had Bournemouth Wolves, pretty dead game, 0-0. No one scored in that one. And then, of course, Mr. Haaland stealing all the limelight this weekend with a 6-0 win for Man City, which was awesome. Sad day for Salah captains, although the difference wasn't that much. It was just like 7 points difference without captaincy. And then West Ham Tottenham, which was slightly surprising, but not according to Raji Unmesh, who got the predictions bang on with a 1-1 draw, which was glad to see for me as a non-Perisic owner. And then Liverpool versus Newcastle. 98th minute last goal by Mr. Birthday Boy Carvalho. That was a great watch. And I don't think Liverpool actually deserved that win. But the final match, which was yesterday, we had Leicester versus United. Pretty dead game, but United actually won 1-0. Ronaldo not start again, no Maguire. That was an interesting game. Overall, so far, if you think our predictions are any good, I want to see the actual results. So I did the math yesterday, and Priyam and me have predicted 40 matches each. Priyam actually getting more than half of them outcome correct and getting 5 results bang on. Myself getting 40% correct. Raji and Unmesh with 40% as well, although they have a smaller sample size. And again, if you're joining us in the chat, please say hello. Please feel free to drop in and ask me any questions. And as we move along, let me know your predictions. Let me know if our predictions are outrageous. But with that, we will get right into it. For the first game of the weekend, the early kickoff on Saturday, we have the Merseyside Derby. This is the most aggressive fixture in the calendar at Goodison Park. Everton do have a new stadium that's being erected very close to the docks in Merseyside. And so this is actually one of the last games of this fixture that we'll be having at this stadium, so we should savor it while we can. The OG Merseyside derby at Goodison Park. Only Chelsea versus Man U has had more times finishing as a draw than Everton versus Liverpool in Premier League history. So do we think that there's a draw on the cards here, given Liverpool's 284 midfielders that are now injured, with Henderson out, Thiago out, you name it, most of the midfielders out, which is a cause for concern. We have a video called "Is Liverpool in Crisis?" Seems like that's aging really, really well right now. given the form currently. We also, few of us predicted not for them not to finish in the top 2 this season. Maybe that's going to come on board this time. But yeah, this is the first weekend in which all 5 of their frontline attackers will be back. As you know, Klopp has mentioned in the manager quote that Diego Jota has trained yesterday and today. He will probably be in the squad for Gameweek 6. And we have Mr. Nunes post his headbutt back from suspension, and the club is waiting to learn the extent of Hendo's injury. So yeah, that's what we learned from the press conference. But that being said, all attackers are available. They have Jota, Firmino, Nunes, Diaz and Salah available for selection up front. Will be awesome to see who plays. From a fantasy standpoint, I am looking at Nunes for 2 reasons. If he's going to start, I think Diaz becomes not as good as an asset. I know a lot of us moved on Robbo for Diaz. Maybe time to make a switcheroo, get Diaz along, move him on if Nunes does come on. From Everton's point of view, Lampard has confirmed that the new signings Neil Maupay and Idrissa Gueye will be available in the squad for the derby. From a fantasy standpoint, I'm just looking at Gordon alone. And from the scope predictions, Raji's gone for a 2-0 win to Liverpool. I guess everyone's backed Liverpool to win here. 3 of us backing for them to lose a clean sheet. So if any of you own TA and Robbo, maybe time to see if this is a fixture to move them on. Although I wouldn't advise anyone to move them on right before Everton. They've done relatively well recently. I do back Liverpool to win here again. I'll be surprised if they don't. But that being said, yeah, with their midfield woes, it might be tough for them to keep a clean sheet. But yeah, Liverpool versus Everton. Let us know what you think. Probably the second biggest game this weekend in terms of like the history. Merseyside derby, of course, it's a big deal. And but yeah, that's going for this. I know captaincy question. Salah versus Haaland's on this weekend. X minutes. Salah's going to play 90. We know that. Haaland will come to it when we talk about the City's game. But the one thing I do want to say for sure is I hate backing the early kickoff. They're starting at I think it's 12:30 UK time, which is like the earliest time on Saturday that they generally start. So that sucks. I probably won't back the early kickoff. I'm leaning towards Haaland right now. But yeah, let me know in the chat, who are you leaning towards? Are you going for Salah? Seeing the results that we've had, 3 goals predicted for Liverpool, do you back them still? But yeah, we'll go on to the next game of the weekend, which is... The next 3 games are actually all in London, I believe. All in old London town, starting with Brentford versus Leeds. So Brentford are actually on their longest scoring streak in the history of the Premier League and have only lost 1 of their last 7 home league games. From Brentford's point of view, they've been doing pretty well. From a fantasy standpoint, Ivan Toney looks like a shout now as people are rejuggling the teams. As I said, Diaz might be moving out, might be restructuring your team. Toney up front is a good shout. From a manager point of view, Nogard will be out this week. Jansen's fit. I don't think it matters too much from a fantasy standpoint. Wisa is another player, another enabler in the midfield. If anyone's looking at a really big differential, if he starts and gets starts with Norgard out, I think he might be a good shout. From a Leeds point of view, Mr. Rodrigo, sadly enough, got dislocated his shoulder. The manager said, Jesse Marshall said that he doesn't need surgery, but he is targeting him to be back after the international break, so it seems like he's going to be out for a while. And from a fantasy standpoint, I'm looking at Bamford. Again, with teams restructuring, wildcards coming up, he seems like someone who can go with. If Rodrigo's out, he's going to be the focal point for scoring goals. From a prediction standpoint, Raji has gone for a draw, 2-2. Priyam predicting Brentford to win. Myself, Brentford to win as well, 2-1. And Unmesh predicting Leeds to win. So different results all around. It'll be interesting to see how this one comes along. I'm backing Brentford to just carry on their home streak. Think they'll edge this one here. I think Leeds going to lose this one. But let's see how this one goes. Will be interesting. Well, on to the next one. Also, just in the comments, let me know if my audio is fine. If you guys can hear me well. I just want to make sure that everything's going well from a stream point of view. But apart from that, we'll move on to the next match. Which is another, as I said, another London game. Chelsea versus West Ham. So, Chelsea have only lost 1 of their last 16 home matches against West Ham, and the sluggish Hammers have only scored 2 games all season. Scored 2 goals all season. I have James and Kukurea in my fantasy, and that stat is making me stick to both of them still. They're both playing right back, left back. I know a lot of people, when James left, or rather got injured last week, everyone moved to Kukurea. I would say stick with him. I don't think they lose their clean sheet. That being said, Chelsea is being pretty average at the back of the season. They're not doing anything too crazy. That being said, though, I would stick if you have them. Manager point of view, we have Oba can't train this week. That's what Tuchel has said, that he needs a mask fitted for his jaw injury. For those of you who don't know, Oba actually had like a robbery in his house, I believe in Barcelona, and he got injured by the thieves or whatever that came along. And so yeah, he actually has his jaw injured, but he'll be back in training next week, according to the comments. From a fantasy standpoint, I'm looking at the man, the photo behind, Raheem Sterling. Before, like, I don't know with Auba coming in if he'll get messed up in the next 2 or 3 weeks, but Sterling has had 14 goal involvements against West Ham in his career. I think he's on for another one this weekend. I'm backing him to score. And the other one that I'm looking at is Mr. Fofana, the 88 million euro signing. I see Siddharth Vasudev in the chat. What do you think about you spending 88 million on a 21-year-old who hasn't? I don't know. I don't think he's worth that much, but I guess just because it's the age premium. But from a fantasy standpoint, I am looking at him. If he's going to start in the back five, I think at 4.4, I believe, or 4.6 is pretty cheap for a Chelsea top 6 side. Why not? I'm talking about the Blues, by the way. I didn't realize that. I didn't mention why I'm wearing my India jersey, but for those of you who don't know, India versus Pakistan is happening this Sunday, and I'm pretty excited. And clearly, you know who I'm backing, but yeah, that'll be exciting to watch as well. Maybe have some coverage on our social medias for the same. But yeah, on to fantasy again. From West Ham's point of view, nothing too exciting. From a manager point of view, Ben Johnson's not available. They're still waiting to see how Skamaka and Cresswell are going to be. Moy is going to make a late decision on them. Antonio's being pretty trash. I think the only person from a fantasy standpoint I would look at is Bowen, see how he passes the eye test, if he's someone we want to monitor for the weeks coming in. And for the predictions, we have 3 people predicting a draw: Raji, Priyam, and Unmesh, and myself backing Chelsea to win here. I think even post seeing those results, I still think Chelsea's going to take it. But yeah, it'll definitely be a good game. Seems like everyone's backing it to be a very strong game. But yeah, that's it for Chelsea versus West Ham. Mr. Chelsea fan in the chat, what do you think, Sid? Are you backing your team to win here? And in the comments also, let me know what you rate Chelsea's transfer window. I mean, they've had pretty big signings coming in. Do you think they had the best Premier League transfer window with Sterling, Koulibaly, Kukurea, Fofana, all these big names coming in? Let me know in the chat below what you guys think about Chelsea. What would you rate their transfer window out of 10? But yeah, I'll move on to the next match by the time. And we have Newcastle versus Crystal Palace. This is actually a good battle between like 2 high, like pushing top 6 almost teams, Newcastle are in that strange position of like being only 1 result away from a bad start, or 1 result away from making it like a good start. Like, if they beat the Eagles this weekend, they'll have lost only once in 6 games. If they lose to Mr. Patrick Vieira's high-flying Birds, they'll have opened the campaign with only 1 win in 6. So it's an interesting game. It could go either way, and but that's how quickly a season can turn. See what I did there, Eddie Howe. But yeah, Newcastle versus Crystal Palace. Manager quotes, both Bruno and Saint Maximin are both wait and sees. So Eddie Howe's going to see closer to the match whether they'll play. Maybe not, but those are two big players for them, so that might cost them the game. From a fantasy standpoint, Mr. Trippier in the picture, doing super well. Anyone trying to look for a transfer in, Trippier, I will highly recommend. Has good fixtures. He might lose his clean sheet here or there, but he's on set pieces. He's doing really well. I think he's good. And Mr. Isak, the new transfer, or Isaac, I'm not sure how it's pronounced. He came in, scored a great goal against Liverpool. He's one to watch as well, I think, down your line again, with rejuggling of teams, wildcards. He could be one. So, up front, I think it's time for 3 strikers back up front. We have your Haaland, Jesus, and now you have one of Tony, Mitrovic, Isaac, who can take the 3rd spot. From a Crystal Palace point of view, Mr. Zaha is doing super well. He's someone you can look at in your fantasy. From an injury standpoint, nothing new from Palace. And from a prediction standpoint, we have Raji predicting a Palace win, Priyam predicting a Newcastle win, I predicted a draw, and Unmesh predicting a Newcastle win. So again here, no clear winner from our predictors, but yeah, that'll be awesome to see what you guys think. Let me know what you guys think as well. Where do you think this game is heading? I think I see both of them scoring for sure, regardless whether it's going to be a draw or a win. I think both teams are doing well up front. So yeah, I see both of them scoring. And again, I'm backing Zaha to score again and again and again. Awesome. On to the next one. We have the battle of the 2 new teams, the 2 new promoted teams. Nottingham Forest versus Bournemouth. not Boo, which is going to be the ticker of the teams at the top, and you see the screens, which are the acronyms. It's great advice for fans who want to get behind the club, but it's also the shortened form of Nottingham Forest versus Bournemouth, and they're playing home at Forest, which, as I mentioned a couple of streams ago, they're just, again, it's Premier League's back after 23 years. The fans are behind them, and that's the reason every time Forest are at home against a small team, I'm going to be backing them 100% of the time. So yeah, everyone's predicted here a Forest win by 2-0, 2-0, 1-0. There is a Bournemouth win on the cards, I think, still. But that being said, I think Forest again at home. I think the home advantage is going to play well. Both the teams know that if the holy grail of top flight survival is to be tasted this season, then these are the sort of matches they have to win. And Bournemouth have recently, it's very two contrasting sides, because Bournemouth recently have just departed with their manager because of too few transfers, while on the other hand we have Nottingham Forest, who have made a record-breaking more than 20 new signings this season, which is insane if you think about it. You need 11 players to start a team. They've basically bought 2 new teams. Again, tough game to call still, but I'm backing a Forest win here. And from a fantasy standpoint, we have Nico Williams, Mr. 4.1 enabler. I think get him in your teams if you have spot, if you're looking for someone to replace with. Good going forward, clean sheet potential. And there's someone else who I want to mention, Morgan Gibbs White. I think he's someone going under the radar. I think 5.5 for a midfielder. If you don't want a Brighton midfielder, he's someone you could look at. I would definitely suggest looking at him, seeing how he's playing this week. And from manager quotes, nothing really that matters, I guess, from a fantasy standpoint. But interesting quote from Forest manager saying, no new injuries, but tough week physically for players during a congested fixture schedule. And this is the first week we've had 3 game weeks, and we're already hearing this. It'll be interesting to see post World Cup, sort of when there's more congestion, how players are going to be rotated. Yeah, from a Bournemouth standpoint, nothing that really matters from a fantasy standpoint. But yeah, exciting weekend ahead for this match. On to the next game. We have another London game. We have Tottenham versus Fulham. Fulham actually has the worst record in all of London derbies. They've only won 26 of their 140 attempts in the capital. But that being said, how many of those Fulham games have had a red-hot Alexander Mitrovic up front? This man is lighting it up. Whoops. And he's doing super well. It'll be interesting to see how Spurs board against him. From manager quotes, nothing too crazy. From Fulham standpoint, Willian is going to be in the squad. Ex-Arsenal, ex-Chelsea player. Pretty good at the time, I would say. He's back this week for them. He's been training with Fulham for 2 weeks. Spurs point of view, Romero and Bentancur are back. They're past fit. Mora is unavailable. No one that really affects anything, I guess, from a fantasy standpoint. Maybe if you're looking at Romero, he's someone who could come back in. Doherty and him would be rotating. Fantasy standpoint, looking at Harry Kane, I think he's going under the radar. He's actually going to have his best start ever if he scores again this weekend. I was reading a stat like that. And Ivan Perisic, for the wrong reasons, I'm looking at him this week. I'm hoping he doesn't start again. UCL's back next week, and again, that's something anyone looking from a fantasy standpoint I'm going to mention. UCL's back next week. It's going to be interesting to see how rotation plays in, and I think Perisic is going to be a victim of rotation this weekend, so be careful of that. And from a fantasy standpoint, of course, Mitrovic, again, spoken about before. If you're looking for a third striker, no doubt he's going to be great. And we have Andreas Pereira, 4.5, 4.6 now, I think. Enabler, get him in teams, put him on the bench, he's worth it. No doubt about it. But yeah, from a prediction standpoint, we have Priam backing a draw, which will be interesting, and everyone else going for a narrow Spurs win. It's on the cards for it to be like a big Spurs win if they're going to have a good showcase back at this home stadium. But yeah, will be a good game to watch. Kane versus Mitrovic. Well, that'll be exciting. On to the next game. We have Wolves versus Southampton. Wolves have actually not won a single game this season. I think they'll be pretty jealous of Southampton, who actually beat Chelsea midweek. And I think Roman Lavia, that's his full name. Lavia scored a screamer from outside the box. 18 years old. Sadly, though, is out for 6 weeks now. I think he injured I think his shoulder in the game or something. But at 18, that's pretty sad to hear for him. Apart from that, all new signings for Southampton have strained. They had a pretty busy deadline day. Everyone's available for tomorrow's game. Fantasy standpoint, honestly, nothing too exciting in this match. From a Wolves point of view, I think Jimenez is back this week. It'll be interesting to see how they do. Wolves have actually not won any of their last 6 games at Southampton. Southampton have not won any of the last 6 games at Wolves, and they'll fear of Raul Jimenez, as I said, who's back, who scored 5 goals in his last 5 Premier League games against them. So that's why I'm looking at Jimenez. If he's going to be back this week, if he's going to score against Southampton, he might be a good enabler later down the line. From Southampton's point of view, I'm always going to back GWP as an enabler. So yeah, and from a prediction standpoint, we have, again, contrasting views. We have Raji going for a Wolves win, Priyam going for a Southampton win, myself backing Wolves here, and Umesh going for a draw. Again, not a clear-cut winner here. Again, interesting game playing along. And on to the next week. Also, by the way, give us a shout out. Let us know what you think about the slides, the new animations, the new graphics. Do you guys like it? What do you think of these versus the previous streams? We all put some effort into making these new ones. So yeah, let us know. This might be the format that we use going forward. We have a new ticker that shows the wins and losses. So red indicates a loss in the last 5, and green indicates a win. So as you can see, City have had 4 wins and 1 draw. But yeah, let us know what you think about the graphics in the comments. But yeah, apart from that, Saturday, the last game of tomorrow's matches is Villa versus Man City, home to Aston Villa. So yeah, Aston Villa has the privilege of taking on Mr. Erling Haaland after 2 back-to-back hat-tricks. And if you know what, that's not good enough. Mr. Alvarez is in form. He looks great. What a player. I'll just go straight to the fantasy standpoint. Those are 2 players that I'm looking at. If Haaland's going to start, just captain him. I think I'll read out Pep's quote. So Pep mentioned, that he talked about Haaland. He's like, he's 22 years old, he recovers well, and he's quick. At 32, it's more difficult, but when you're 22 years old, it's not a problem. Pep loves to mess with Premier League managers' ears. So FPL players, I hate him. Doesn't say anything. I wish he could just say, yeah, he starts for 60 minutes. That being said, I think that quote is enough for me to put the armband on Haaland. I might regret this in hindsight, but it'll be interesting. Apart from that, Grealish and Ake are back in training. And nothing crazy from Villa standpoint. Bailey started last game. I know everyone sold him. He's at 4.7 now. Would be interesting to see if he keeps playing against City as well. Prediction standpoint, we have everyone predicting a City win. No debate. 3 same scores. I think that's the first time we've had this. 3-0, 3-0, 3-0 to City. And Umesh predicting 4-1. So yeah, might be a bigger scoreline than that, to be honest, as well. But yeah, interesting game. I think this is just going to be all about Haaland if he plays. Awesome, cool. On to the next game. On to Sunday now. We have the first match, Brighton versus Leicester. Sunday starts with the game of Brighton taking on the current crisis club, Mr. B. Rogers' team. The Sweethearts, who won the 2015-2016 Premier League, are currently rock bottom of the same league, which sucks to see for them. I love Leicester, but it sucks to see the position they're in. They've lost Fofana this year as well, which is a big loss for them. That being said, this should be an interesting game. I think although they're doing poorly, this might be a game where they can stand their foot, see Brighton's being really well. If they beat them, this will probably be a big confidence booster. Manager quotes, nothing from Leicester. From Brighton's point of view, Veltman's fine. I own Veltman, that's why I care about that quote. And Lallana remains out. From a fantasy standpoint, Trossard is someone I'm looking at. I know everyone's going for Gross. I think Trossard's worth the premium. I was looking at the stats. I think Trossard's actually worth, I think it's like 0.7 more than Gross, but please go for Trossard if you can over Gross if you have the space. And Estupinan, I don't know how you pronounce his name exactly, but I think he's a new left back. He's the one who's replaced Kukurea. He's someone to look at. 4.5, pretty cheap, worth it. Leicester point of view, I would stay away from now. That being said, eye test for Barnes is on. Barnes is cheap, very good goal scorer in general. Just for now, him, Madison, Vardy are not clicking the way they did a season or 2 ago. But if they do, they're a really good players to back. Prediction standpoint, we have 2 people predicting a draw and 2 people predicting opposite teams to win. So we have Priyam predicting Leicester to win. Wow, that would be a great result for Leicester. And Unmesh predicting Brighton to win. Wouldn't be surprised with that. And Raji and myself are backing 1-1 and 2-2, so draws. No clean sheets all around. So for those of you who are transferring Sanchez in, Veltman, Dunk, this might be an interesting time point. And I see Raji's asking, Brendan Rodgers sacked. That I won't be surprised, Raji. I don't see him staying much longer if they're going to stay 20 for a long time. This is a tough game. Honestly, with Unmesh's prediction as well, I do agree with it. There's a high chance they lose this game. Brighton's pretty informed. They're home as well. Sacked might be. I think he's on thin ice. I think this game, if he loses, he's going to be on thin ice. That being said, I think he's just a couple of wins away from gaining the fans' trust again. He's a good manager all around, but thin ice. That's where I'm standing at. That's what he's on. Again, please put your comments in the chat below. Happy to answer any of your questions. Could be about any of the matches. Let me know if you think any of our predictions are ridiculous. If you think it's going to be the opposite of anything, and we'll move on to the next match. The biggest one. Sorry, I did not hype that up enough. I thought it was still one match away. Manchester United versus Arsenal at the Theatre of Dreams at Old Trafford. In the chat below, I'm sure we have a big split of people who support Arsenal, a big proportion of them who support United. Let me know in the comments below your predictions for this match. This is the one where I would love to see live betting. I would love to see what people are backing, because it's a very interesting one. United are now in form, as you can see from our ticker. 2 losses and 3 back-to-back wins. Arsenal coming in with 5 back-to-back wins, but let's look at the manager quotes. Ramsdale and Odegaard are to be assessed. Those are 2 big players. Odegaard's been really, really, really good for Arsenal. If those 2 are out, that's tough. Zinchenko's out, and the main thing that was my worry for Arsenal this season has happened. Injury in the midfield. Thomas Partey's out. I think he's out for a bit. Big doubt for Partey. Elneny's injured as well. Again, if you look at our season predictions video, I said the reason that Arsenal finish outside top 4 is because they're going to lose someone in the midfield. And if Partey is out for a bit, big cause for concern. I would easily back a United win in that case. That being said, Arsenal are hot in form. Arteta's gaining trust after all or nothing. He's the new god in town. He's the new best manager according to all Arsenal fans. So it'll be interesting to see. I think a small part of me says United's gonna nick this one. It's back at home. I had a stat. It says that Arsenal have only won one of the last 15 Premier League games at the Theatre of Dreams. So, do you guys think this is the one that they turn around? My heart says not really. That's why I predicted a 2-2. I think I'm the only one who's gone with the draw here. Unmesh, of course. I think everything else is just bias here. Raji, Priyam predicting Arsenal wins. Unmesh predicting a United win. This is definitely the most exciting game this weekend. Please tune in to watch this game. It's going to be exciting. Fantasy standpoint, oops, I did not put anyone in. My bad. But from United standpoint, I am looking at Mr. Sancho. He scored a goal. He scored in 2 big games now. Let's see if he scores another big one here. Do we think Mr. 100 million euro man Anthony is going to start? If he does, it'll be interesting to see how he plays. I think he makes his debut for sure. I think he comes off the bench. I don't know if he's going to start. Arsenal standpoint, we have Jesus, Martinelli. Of course, everyone owns them. We're all going to be looking at them, how they do. In the chat below, let me know what you think. Who's going to take this match, and who's going to be the goal scorers. Ronaldo is another good talking point. It's a big game. I mean, on paper, these are 2 big rivals from your Ferguson, Wenger era. Like, these are the biggest teams at the time. Will be interesting to see someone of the caliber of Ronaldo starting up front. I don't think Rashford did that good a job last match. So I think Ronaldo has capacity maybe to play 60 minutes, and then Rashford can come on for him. With Anthony in as well, Alanga is going to be on the bench maybe. Interesting lineup's going to be here. But I'm worried. I'm worried for Arsenal, especially with injuries. If Odegaard's out, Partey's out, looks like a long day for Arsenal. Raji asks, are United players fantasy assets after Arsenal match? 3 wins in a row. Yeah, so as I said, they have 3 wins in a row. My problem with United assets are up front. I'm concerned about the rotation, about what their system's going to be going forward. Are they going to be playing like Ronaldo up top? Are you going to have Rashford up top? If Rashford's going to start every game up top, that's a crazy person to have. It's like 6.4, 6.5 starting up top for United. That would be awesome. I would stay away from the midfielders in like Bruno, Eriksson. I think for now I'd stay away from them. But Sancho and Rashford are at the top of my list. And assets-wise, attacking-wise, those are the 2 that I'm looking at. Defensive-wise, Dalot, 100% Dalot. His baseline bonus points are super high. He's a bonus point monster. I think any small United win here or there, he's going to get on the bonus point system. I would definitely recommend looking at Dalot. 4.4 million as well, pretty cheap. Diego Dalot is my shout. Definitely pecking order-wise, I think Dalot, Sancho, Rashford, those are the 3 players that I'm looking at from Man U fantasy. And that was the last game of this weekend. We'll move on to fantasy and stuff, but again, Let me know your predictions for this game and what you think. Again, biggest game this weekend. Sunday, 11:30 Canadian time, 6:30 Kenyan time, I think 4:30 UK time, and 9 p.m. Indian time. So make sure you tune in. But yeah, second last thing actually. I just pulled up some stats just for you all to see, all the previous predictions that we have are sort of just our own. There's no real bias. Oh, sorry, that's the wrong word. It's full of bias. There's no real influence from data and supercomputers. And we live in a world where, of course, data is predicting a lot of stuff. So I just like looking at a couple of websites, see what data is saying. And, from these, on the left, we have DraftHound, which is a big website. They're predicting Brighton, Chelsea, Liverpool, City, and Tottenham to have the most obvious wins. They're saying for the Arsenal game, they predict 38% chance of Arsenal winning, 39% chance of United winning. So yeah, very splits. That's interesting. We had a lot of people saying West Ham draw. Seems like West Ham has a pretty big percentage to lose according to the computers, 18%. Looking at the graph in the middle, let me look at Arsenal Man U. Home win 37%, away win 34%. Okay, so the odds are actually in the favor according to the supercomputer to Man U, with the draw being 28%. And apart from that, what I see City 66%, pretty outrageous. Liverpool 62%, that's super high. And yeah, Spurs 65%. So yeah, that's a game I think that's probably a bit different from what we've all predicted. And yeah, a lot of the other smaller games in there. Nottingham Forest, that's an interesting one. Forest, we've all predicted for them to win, but actually the supercomputers predict that Bournemouth could win, or rather have a high percentage of winning than Forest. And yeah, with that, I'm going to go to my fantasy team. Any advice from any of you, but I'll just quickly go over my fantasy team. For now, my captaincy band is on Salah. That being said, though, I think I'm going to move on. I'm going to move Salah on. I think this will go to Haaland. And yeah, Trippier is in, Williams in. But yeah, this is what I hope my team would look like. This is not the team that I've set up yet. But for now, I have Kukurea, I have James, I have Ramsdale. But those are players that I would move on ideally. Maybe get Trippier in, get Sanchez in for Ramsdale. Let me know what you guys think with the fantasy stuff. But yeah, with that, I'm going to wrap up, my part of the stream about talking about anything. Happy to answer any questions in the chat you guys might have. Let me know. I think I'll bring it to this slide because I think, if anything, this is definitely the biggest talking point. But yeah, happy to answer any questions in the chat. I'll just look at the chat if there's anything happening. So we had Siddharth Vasudev predicting a Kukurea hat-trick. I hope so, brother. I'm keeping my faith in him. I'm keeping him this week. I read a stat that I think West Ham have had one of the highest chances conceded on the left flank. So he's definitely a good one to watch. Crazy graphics, super cool graphics. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. All the combined effort. But yeah, if nothing else in the chat, I'll wrap up the stream in a couple of minutes. But Umesh asks, is it wildcard week? I think game week 8 is wildcard week. Okay, let's just dial it down. Reasons for wildcarding: Nunes is back. You might want to move on your Liverpool assets. Liverpool midfield's pretty whack. You might want to move on Robbo. So I think Robbo and Diaz, it's honestly not a bad week to move them on. One reason to move on. Second reason, Arsenal midfield is messed up. You might want to remove the defense if you own Saliba, if you own Ramsdale. Good reason to get them out this week. So yeah, again, everyone who started with the big at the back, not really are we getting a lot of clean sheets at the back. That could be a good reason to do wildcard as well. Another reason to do wildcard is you get your 3 strikers up front. And we have fixture swings for Nottingham Forest, etc. So those are there is reasons you should wildcard. I'm not totally against it. That being said, I think I'll just wait a couple of weeks. I think the reason I say is I think the template's doing really well. Template's really strong so far. I think dialing away from it might be a bit risky. If you're chasing, go for it. If you're trying to hold rank, I would not say wildcard. I think you just play till game week 8 and then think about wildcarding post the international break. Siddharth Vasudev asks, Gross, Diaz, Mitrovic, and Jesus. Drop 1. Okay, I'll just put the question back to you. Are you asking just for this week or going ahead? But I'm going to assume you're asking going ahead. My drop 1 is Gross. I think, as we said before, I think Trossard's a better asset than Gross. Secondly, I would remove Diaz. I think, as I said, if Nunes is back, I think Diaz is going to be slightly hindered. So yeah, in the pecking order, keep Jesus 100%. His EO is just too high. Don't play that game. Don't be that person. Keep Jesus. Mitrovic, maybe stay away this week. Again, I think he's fixture proof. He might get 1 goal, but I don't see a mega haul like a 10-12 pointer coming from him in this week or the next week. So you can have limited damage in the next 2 weeks away from him. So don't drop him, but keep him in your mind for going ahead. And Diaz, I think drop one. But for this week, if you're specifically asking me for your bench, I'd bench Gross. Diaz has hall potential. Mitrovic has hall potential. Jesus has hall potential. Yeah, it's between Gross and Mitro, but I'll keep Mitro. Benching Mitro would hurt. Benching Gross is whatever. It's Brighton. I don't think they're going to score 3 or 4 goals. But yeah, that's what I think about that one. But yeah, happy to answer any other questions regarding FPL, any of the predictions, what you guys think. I just wanted to bring up the analysis again. Just to mention one thing, I think was Raji had asked about Brendan Rodgers. Leicester's only have a 22% win prediction, with Brighton being 55% win prediction. So looking rough for Brendan Rodgers. But yeah, you know what? I think it's been about, I don't know how long we've been waiting for, 36 minutes now, so close to 40 minutes, which is what we target at. So I'm going to try wrap up the stream if there's nothing else in the chat. And I appreciate everyone tuning in on the weekend. It'll be a fun weekend for sure. So talk to us on our socials. Follow us on Twitter at FPL2Ps, which is our fantasy page, at Flawless Sports, which just talks everything football, everything sports. India versus Pakistan on Sunday, we'll definitely be talking about that there on the Twitter page. On Instagram at Flawless Sports as well. So add us, follow us. Again, if you're here, please drop a subscribe, drop a comment. Let me know what you think about the stream, what you think for the graphics. And we'll be back again next week. And good luck to all United fans. Good luck to all Arsenal fans. Will be an interesting week. And so last question before I leave. He's asking De Bruyne haul. Yes, 100% I see that coming. I think he's definitely going to haul this week. He's definitely starting more definite X minutes compared to Haaland. So I think he's hauling this weekend. But yeah, with that, I'm going to wrap up the stream. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for everyone who stuck around. I appreciate you all. And have a great weekend ahead. Cheers. Party hard. Bye-bye.